So far in 2024, I've been able to scale over 53 brands beyond $100,000 per month in revenue with Google Ads alone. So it's safe to say I have some experience exploding brands beyond the six-figure per month level. And the reality is just about any decent brand with a decent amount of search volume per month can make this happen, including yours. So in this video, I'm going to tell you the secret sauce behind scaling past 100,000, 500,000, even $1 million a month in revenue with Google Ads alone, and how it can actually be done. Now, before we get into the actual nitty-gritty details and the strategy, let's first understand what similarities and what characteristics these brands have. Because truth be told, not every brand is even eligible to scale past this level. There needs to be a certain level of professionalism and a certain level of just overall appearance with the brand for it to even be eligible to scale beyond this level. The first characteristic I've seen, which is common amongst almost all of these brands I've worked with, is that they often have multiple traffic sources. They could have Facebook ads and Google ads going on. They could have Pinterest ads, Facebook ads, and Google ads going on, so on and so forth. You cannot scale your brand to the next level with just Google ads alone. And even if you do, it's not going to be able to remain consistent at that level. And if your goal is consistency to scale to these levels long term for years and years, then you need to have multiple traffic sources in place. But in addition to that, majority of these brands have had focused on landing pages which are based on the audience's needs and wants. I see so many brands out there where they just throw up a random landing page with the most basic colors which they think their audience wants to see without really doing audience research, without doing competitor research, and as a result, their conversion rates are often poor. And one of the easiest ways to fix that is by just doing audience research, by understanding what your competitors are doing, what kind of ad layouts they have often going on, and how your brand can mimic something like that. It's not about copying, it's about just providing that experience which a user in your niche wants to experience. In addition to that, the third thing these brands have had in common is that they've spent a lot of time fixing up their back-end systems, things such as upsells, downsells, email flows, SMS remarketing. So you need to always ensure that your back-end systems are not broken, they're in place, and they're again designed with the users and the users' wants and needs in mind. Fourth thing these brands have in common, the fourth characteristic, is that they have a product feed established based on research. When I say product feed, I'm referring to things such as the product images, titles, prizes, Google Merchant Center programs. Keep in mind, the best product feeds out there are always the ones that are the opposite of their competitors. If majority of their competitors have plain white background images with big titles, then the product feed that will do good in that situation is one with real lifestyle background images with very big product titles. And the final thing which a $100,000 or more per month brand has in place for Google Ads is they have an ecosystem of traffic. I can't tell you how many times I regularly audit brands under my Google Ads agency or marketing, which, by the way, if you run a brand doing $1 million a year, you need extra help scaling your brand to the next level with Google Ads, go onto my website at euromarketing.com and schedule a free call with me, and let's see if we can potentially work together and make that happen. But you need to be incorporating an ecosystem of traffic, which we'll cover very shortly what that means. And this ecosystem of traffic, which combines cold traffic and retargeting, will combine both of these efforts together to then push your brand in the right direction and to then get the brand really scaling to the next level. But now, how does all of this translate to the Google Ads side of things specifically? First things first, any brand at this level is focused on just three major things, which your brand should also be focused on. Number one, relevance. Number two, perceived value. And number three, rule adherence. Now, let's start off with the first one, relevance. With product feeds, relevance is as simple as making sure your product images, your product titles, and everything in between is exactly what the user wants to see. So if you're trying to sell apples, don't have references to the keyword oranges in there, because what that will do is it will make things irrelevant. And once the algorithm thinks your brand is irrelevant or you're selling irrelevant products, it's going to make it difficult for you to scale that product. And when you get this first part of the equation right is when your brand now is on the trajectory of even doing over 100,000 a month with Google Ads, but you're not done yet. This brings us to the second thing, which is perceived value. Doesn't matter if your product is $5 or $5,000. First impression is the perceived value, how the user perceives your product to be. Is it perceived to be high quality, or is it perceived to be low quality because maybe you didn't use an image which clearly shows the product? Maybe it's low quality image, a little bit blurry, has a bunch of text in there, or just plain white background so it blends in with everybody else. Any of these things will decrease your perceived value of your product, and as a result make it more difficult for your brand to scale. The third thing is rule adherence. Now, what do I mean by this exactly? The moment these product disapprovals, the moment these policy violations start to come up, they directly start signaling Google's algorithm that your brand is not following direction. So as a result, your brand now starts getting lower and lower quality traffic compared to your competitors, which is something you cannot have happen at all costs. Any brand doing over 100,000 a month from Google Ads, they're regularly checking their policies, they're regularly checking their products to make sure they're not getting disapproved, because if they are, then they're really fixing them. But once you have these three fundamental things in place, you're about 80% on the way to doing over 100,000 a month. But the closing factor, the one that really takes you over that edge to the next level, is the ad strategy. Now, with the ad strategy, there's so many different ways you could go about it. Performance max, standard shopping, that's really besides the point. What you need to understand on the top of the funnel strategic level, what we do across these brands, is you want to focus on having the easiest approach the algorithm can use to understand who your ideal audience is and who your ideal customer is, while implementing the quickest way for any product to go from point A to point B. Now, in this situation, point A is your website, point B is in front of the customer's eyes. You need to make this gap between the product going from the website to your customer's eyes and then them eventually interacting with your ads the smallest possible, because the bigger you make this gap by adding more fanciness to your approaches, by doing a lot of nitty-gritty details within your campaign strategies, and by just overcomplicating the entire process, the longer it will take for you to get sustainable results and the longer it will take for you to scale your brand to the next level. But if you run a brand doing $1 million a year, you need extra help scaling to the next level, go on to my website at yourmarketing.com and schedule a free call with me to see essentially how we can work together and make that happen. But check out this video right here on the newest product testing strategy, which I just recently created myself, which is helping brands like these scale even further to the next level.